All right, ladies and gents, as promised, here we go. I'm going to share this video with you about solving for X. Anytime I've been in the class, there's always a couple of students that need a breakout room, that just need some additional help with math, in particular, the beginning of algebra, which is solving for X. So we're going to go over that in this video. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to your teachers, or you can reach out to myself, and we'll have some answers and some information that will give you some assistance with algebra. So let's get right into it. If you look at the top left hand, you'll see that it says example 1. All right, so this is going to be the first example. The example is solve for X. And the problem itself is 1.5x equals 30. Or you could say 1.5 times x equals 30. Let's just scoot over to the right-hand side, and you see here it says PEMDAS. Now, PEMDAS, we're going to get into that as we start the problem. If you look on the right-hand side, on the lower right-hand side, you'll see rules to remember. So this area is very special because this is what I want you to copy down on a separate piece of paper, something that like a flashcard or something small you could just put right in your back pocket and hold on to it, because anytime you come to algebra class, you're probably going to need this information. It's vital, and you'll probably need it almost every day when it comes to algebra. So let's get into the problem, and then, we'll put things in place where they belong. So example 1 says solve for X. 1.5x equals 30. So I'm going to start in the same way I suggest that you start, and that's with writing the problem. Okay. So the problem says 1.5x equals 30. And of course, the first question is, well, what is the first step? What do I do to find this X that they're looking for? So what I'm going to tell you is you need to go to PEMDAS. PEMDAS is right in this corner. This word PEMDAS is an acronym, okay? Just like BET is for Black Entertainment Television. These letters stand for something, okay? So we have PEMDAS. P stands for parenthesis. E stands for exponents. Now, a lot of times students in my breakout room, they're not sure what an exponent looks like. So I'll put a link in the description, or I'll just put, exactly what it looks like. But it's just basically a number, and then there's that little small number in the right-hand corner, which is basically squared or cubed or something to that nature. But again, I'll put a link so you have a full idea of what that looks like. M is for multiplication. D is for division, as I'm sure you're starting to see where this is going now. A is for addition, and S is for subtraction. These are in a specific order. Don't change the order, all right? This parenthesis, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, this PEMDAS, this is something that you need to also make sure you memorize, because you will probably use it just about every day that you come into an algebra class. It's foundational, and it works if you do it this way. Okay, so let's go back to the problem, and we ask ourselves, where do we start? Well, where do we start? We start with PEMDAS. Okay, we're gonna look at this order, and we're gonna say, okay, do we see parentheses in our problem, which is 1.5x equal 30? No, we don't see parentheses, so we can pass that. Do we see exponents in our problem? We don't see exponents, so we can skip past that as well. We don't need those operations. They're not in our problem. Let's look at multiplication, which is the third operation on this list. Oh, we have multiplication. We do. And for those of you that are saying, well, where's the multiplication? I don't see a multiplication sign anywhere. Well, this is the multiplication. So let me just go ahead and start it off on the rules to remember. When it comes to multiplication, a lot of you guys have seen this. 1.5 times x. you would see a multiplication sign. But there's other ways to show multiplication. And let me just make a quick brief statement. If I'm moving too fast, press pause, write what I'm saying down, and dissect it. You will get it. I haven't got many complaints. You will get it and you will understand it. Just take the time and listen. Okay. So 1.5x times x is one way. Another way you can show multiplication with the same number and the same variable, which is x. You can do 1.5x in parentheses. Still multiplication. You can do 1.5 in parentheses and x right next to it. Still multiplication. You can also do, let's say, 1.5 in parentheses, and you can do an x in parentheses. Still multiplication. The number is still attached to the letter. In math, we say the letter is a variable. It can be x, it can be y, it can be z, it can be a or b. It really doesn't matter what letter, as long as it's a letter. You can also do 1.5 and put the x in parentheses. Let's say, what haven't we done? You can change the order. So you just have this x here. You can put the x in front. You say x and then 1.5 in parentheses. Still multiplication. Okay. So all of the above mean or show. Let's say all of the above show multiplication. All right. This is a fact. So let's go back to our problem. Now we asked ourselves, do we see parentheses? Do we see exponents? We didn't see those, but we do see multiplication. The multiplication is right here, 1.5x. So because we see multiplication, we're going to do division. If we were to see addition first, we would do subtraction. So basically the rule is, and again, I'm going to go back over here to rules to remember. The rule is do the opposite of what you see from, let's say do the opposite, the inverse operation. That is the correct term. The inverse operation. And the inverse operation is basically the opposite of the operation. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of division is multiplication. You get my drift, okay? Do the inverse operation of what you see from PEMDAS. So in this case, what we saw was multiplication right here. So because we saw multiplication, we're going to do division, okay? So let's use this division sign, or some people say fraction sign. All right, we're going to put this in place. Now we're going to divide by the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is 1.5. Let me get rid of that underline. The leading coefficient is 1.5. Okay. And we're going to divide the 1.5 on both sides of the equal sign. Never forget that. Now, I said a word leading coefficient. You may not know what that is. Let's just make it real simple. The leading, here, let's say here we divide it by the leading coefficient. Let's just fix some of these words. Here we divide it by the leading coefficient on both sides of the equal sign. What is the leading coefficient? The leading coefficient is simply the number directly in front of the letter. Very simple. The leading coefficient is the number directly in front of the letter. This 1.5, that's a number, and it's directly in front of the letter. That's the leading coefficient. That's what you're going to divide by because you see multiplication. Okay? So let's look at this. 1.5x divided by 1.5. And then on the other side of the equal sign, you have 30 divided by 1.5. Let's use the equal sign as somewhat of a barrier, separating what's going on the left side from what's going on the right side of the equal sign. So 1.5 divided by 1.5, I mean, that's simple, 1. Anytime you divide something, well, put it this way, anything divided by itself is itself. So if I say what's 1 divided by 1, it's going to be 1. If I say what's 36 divided by 36, the answer is 1. What if I say 1 million divided by 1 million? The answer is still 1, okay? So let's just put that as a rule over here, and then we will finish the problem. So anything, meaning any number or any letter, if I said x divided by x, that too is a 1. So anything divided by itself is equal to itself. Okay? So right here, if we're following that rule, we will see that 1.5 divided by 1.5 is 1. And x divided by, well, there's nothing else there to divide by, so we'll just leave the x. We'll keep our equal sign. And then we have 30. On the right side of the equal sign, we have 30 divided by 1.5. I'm going to show you how to put this in your calculator properly so you can just get the answer. You know, maybe I'll do another video later down the line if you want to know how to do this without the calculator. But you can simply put open parentheses 30, close parentheses, divided by, I use the slash here, but your calculator will have a division sign. Open parentheses 1.5, close parentheses. You have to put the parentheses, no questions asked. The reason why is because if you don't use parentheses, you can easily confuse the calculator on exactly what you want to do. So the parentheses are there to really separate each term, and you can do exactly what you need to do on the calculator. There's no sense in having a calculator and getting the answer wrong. So just make sure you use those parentheses every single time for your terms. Okay? Now you have 1x equals 30 divided by 1.5. In math, 1x is the same thing as x. Always. Okay? You're going to keep your equal sign. And then when you do 30 divided by 1.5 in your calculator, what you end up getting is, hopefully, 20. And this is your final answer. Okay? Now take your time, dissect that. There is a way to check this answer. Maybe I'll do another video for that as well. But make sure that you write down these rules to remember. Understand what we did here and how PEMDAS was used, because this order and this PEMDAS is used constantly in algebra. All right. So that's all for now. I hope this helps you. Again, if you have questions, reach out to your teachers, reach out to whoever you need to reach out to help you figure this out. It is doable. You can learn this. It may start off difficult because it's not familiar, but the more you practice it, the more you will get it. It's very practical. It's very mechanical. And when I say mechanical, it means that if you learn the right steps, the steps apply to everything. You don't have to change the steps. They apply to everything. All right. So good luck with this. Again, God bless y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.